The knife pressed against Nia Park's throat was cold enough to stop her breath. She stood frozen in the dim warehouse, surrounded by men in black suits whose faces showed nothing but calculated violence. Her father knelt beside her, blood trickling from his split lip, his hands bound behind his back with zip ties that cut into his wrists. "Please," her father choked out, his voice breaking. "Please, she has nothing to do with this." The man holding the blade laughed, a sound like gravel scraping concrete. "Your daughter has everything to do with this, Mr. Park. You borrowed 500 million won from the Black Phoenix Syndicate. Did you think we'd forget?" Nia's heart hammered against her ribs. 500 million won. Nearly $500,000. Money her father had gambled away trying to save his failing business. Money he'd borrowed from the most dangerous criminals in Seoul. She'd warned him. God, how many times had she warned him? "I'll pay it back," Nia heard herself say, though her voice trembled. "Give me time. I'll work. Time?" The man's grip tightened on the knife. "Your father has had 6 months. The interest alone could buy a luxury apartment in Gangnam now." The warehouse door opened with a screech of metal that made everyone turn. Footsteps echoed through the vast space, measured and deliberate. The men in suits immediately straightened, their postures shifting from predatory to respectful in an instant. Nia saw him then. Jae-Min Han walked through the shadows like he owned them. Tall, broad-shouldered, with sharp features that could have been carved from ice. His black suit was immaculate, his dark hair swept back from a face that was beautiful and terrifying in equal measure. But it was his eyes that made Nia's blood run cold. They were empty. Completely, utterly empty. Like looking into a void that had forgotten how to feel. "Boss?" the man with the knife said, immediately releasing Nia and stepping back. Jae-Min's gaze moved over the scene with the disinterest of someone examining insects. When his eyes landed on Nia, something flickered there, gone so fast she might have imagined it. "This is the daughter?" His voice was smooth, cultured, with just a hint of something darker underneath. "Yes, sir. Nia Park, 27. Works as a translator for... I know who she is." Jae-Min cut him off, still staring at Nia. "Ghanaian mother, Korean father. Speaks 5 languages. Clean record. No debts of her own." The way he listed her attributes was cold, like reviewing an asset's specifications. Her unique lineage and clean history are interesting. They make her suitable collateral. The fact that he knew so much about her should have terrified Nia more than the knife had. Instead, she felt a strange numbness spreading through her body, the kind that came when fear became so overwhelming it shut down completely. "Kill them both," Jae-Min said casually. "Dispose of the bodies in the usual way." "No!" The word tore from Nia's throat before she could stop it. She stumbled forward, falling to her knees in front of him. Pride meant nothing when death was seconds away. "Please. Please. There has to be another way. I'll do anything. Anything you want." Jae-Min looked down at her, and for the first time, something shifted in those dead eyes. Interest, maybe, or hunger. "Anything?" he repeated softly. "Yes." He crouched down, bringing himself to her level. Up close, she could see the faint scar along his jawline, the way his pupils seemed to swallow the light. "Do you know what the Black Phoenix Syndicate does to people who beg, Miss Park?" Nia's throat was too tight to answer. "We make them prove their words have value." He reached out, and Nia flinched, but he only tilted her chin up with one finger, forcing her to meet his gaze. His touch burned like ice. "Your father owes me blood or money. Since he has no money, traditionally, I'd take blood. But perhaps there's a third option." "What option?" Nia whispered. "Marry me." The warehouse went absolutely silent. Even her father stopped struggling. "What?" Nia's voice came out strangled. "Marry me," Jae-Min repeated, as if he'd just suggested they go for coffee. "Become my wife. In exchange, your father's debt is cleared, and both of you walk out of here alive." "You can't be serious." "I'm always serious, Miss Park." He released her chin and stood, towering over her again. "You have 10 seconds to decide. Accept my proposal, or I paint these walls with your blood. 10, 9, 8. "Why?" Nia gasped. "Why would you want to marry me?" 7, 6, 5. "Nia, don't," her father croaked. "Don't do this for me." 4, 3. Her mind was screaming, racing through impossible calculations. Marriage to a mafia boss versus death. Slavery versus oblivion. But beneath the panic, a small voice whispered that there was something else in Jae-Min's eyes when he looked at her. Something that wasn't quite calculation. 2. "Yes!" The word exploded from her. "Yes, I'll marry you." Jaemin's lips curved into something that might have been a smile on a different face. On his, it looked like a death sentence. "Excellent choice." He turned to his men. "Release her father. Give him enough money to disappear for a while. If I see him in Seoul again before I say otherwise, the deal is void." "Wait," her father started. "Dad, go." Nia's voice was steadier now, though her hands shook violently. "Just go. Please." The look her father gave her would haunt her forever. Guilt, grief, and shame all mixed together. Then they were dragging him away, and she was alone with monsters. Jae-Min extended his hand to her. "Come, future wife. We have a wedding to plan." Nia took his hand because she had no choice. His fingers closed around hers, and the burning sensation intensified. She looked down, half expecting to see her skin blistering, but there was nothing. Just pale flesh against pale flesh. "Does it hurt?" Jae-Min asked quietly, and there was something in his voice that almost sounded like regret. "Yes," Nia admitted. "Good." He pulled her closer, until she could feel the heat radiating from his body despite the coldness of his touch. "Remember this pain, Nia Park. Remember that you chose this. Because once we're married, there's no going back. No divorce. No escape. You'll be mine until one of us dies." "I understand." "No," he murmured, and this time she was certain she heard regret. "You really don't." The wedding happened 3 days later in a private chapel that smelled of incense and old wood. No family. No friends. Just Jae-Min's syndicate members, standing like dark sentinels along the walls, and a nervous priest who couldn't meet Nia's eyes as he rushed through the vows. Nia wore a white dress that someone had delivered to her apartment, perfectly tailored to her body, though she'd never been measured. The fabric felt expensive, suffocating. When Jae-Min slipped the platinum ring onto her finger, his hand trembled. Just for a second, so brief she almost missed it, but she felt it. And when his skin touched hers, that burning sensation returned, stronger this time, like touching a live wire. "You may kiss the bride," the priest mumbled. Jae-Min's jaw tightened. He leaned in slowly, and Nia's heart threatened to break through her chest. But at the last moment, he turned his head and pressed his lips to her cheek instead. The kiss lasted only a heartbeat, but where his mouth touched her skin, she felt fire and frost simultaneously. Her vision blurred for a moment, and she could have sworn she heard screaming, distant and terrible. "It's done," Jae-Min said, pulling away quickly. His face had gone pale, a thin line of blood trickling from his left nostril. "You're bleeding," Nia whispered. He wiped it away with the back of his hand, his expression unreadable. "It's nothing. Come. I'm taking you home." Home turned out to be a mansion in Hanam-dong, Seoul's most exclusive neighborhood. The building loomed against the night sky like a sleeping beast, all sharp angles and dark windows. The gate opened automatically, and as they drove through, Nia noticed armed guards positioned at intervals around the property. This wasn't a home. It was a fortress. Inside, the mansion was stunning and sterile. Marble floors, expensive art on the walls, furniture that looked like it had never been sat on. Everything was black, white, or gray. No color, no warmth, no life. "Your room is upstairs. Third door on the left," Jae-Min said, not looking at her. "My room is at the end of the hall. The east wing is off limits. You don't go there, ever." "Why not?" His eyes snapped to her, and for a moment, she saw something wild in them. Fear, maybe. "Because I said so. Do you understand?" Nia nodded, her mouth dry. "You can move freely through the rest of the house during the day," he continued, his voice returning to that cold, controlled tone. "But after sunset, you stay in your room. You lock your door, and no matter what you hear, you don't come out until morning." "What would I hear?" Jae-Min turned away. "Just follow the rules, Nia. They're designed to keep you alive." He walked away then, disappearing down the hallway toward the forbidden east wing. Nia watched him go, every instinct screaming that she'd made a terrible mistake. But it was too late now. The ring on her finger felt like a shackle. That first night, Nia couldn't sleep. Her room was large and luxurious, with a massive bed and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seoul's glittering skyline. But the beauty couldn't mask the wrongness she felt seeping through the walls. At midnight, she heard it. Whispers. They started soft, like wind through leaves, but gradually grew louder. Voices speaking in a language she couldn't identify, rising and falling in rhythms that sounded almost like prayers. Or chanting. The sounds came from somewhere deep in the house, echoing through the halls like ghosts. Nia pressed her hands over her ears, but it didn't help. The whispers seemed to come from inside her own head now, drilling into her skull. And beneath them, she heard something else. Screaming. Distant, agonized screaming that made her blood run cold. She ran to her door and yanked it open, ready to flee. But Jae-Min was standing right there in the hallway. He'd changed into simple black clothes, and his hair was damp, like he'd just showered. But it was his eyes that stopped her. They were different, darker, haunted. "I told you to stay in your room," he said quietly. "What is that sound? What's happening?" "Nothing that concerns you." He stepped closer, and she retreated back into her room. He followed, closing the door behind him. "You need to learn to ignore it, Nia. For your own sanity." "How can I ignore that? It sounds like people are being tortured." Something like pain crossed his face. "They were. A long time ago. Now go to sleep." "Were?" Nia grabbed his arm without thinking. The moment she touched him, the burning sensation exploded through her entire body. Her vision went white, then black, then filled with images that weren't hers. She saw Jae-Min standing in a warehouse, younger, maybe 25. A man knelt before him, begging for his life. Jae-Min's face was emotionless as he raised a gun. The shot echoed. Blood splattered. Then another image, another man, another death. Then another, and another. Dozens of them, hundreds maybe, all flashing through her mind like a nightmare slideshow. Nia gasped and jerked away, stumbling backward until she hit the wall. "What was that? What did you do to me?" Jae-Min's face had gone completely white. More blood dripped from his nose. "You saw them." "I saw you killing people." "Yes." He wiped the blood away with shaking hands. "And now you understand why you need to follow the rules. This house, this marriage, everything about me is dangerous. Stay away from me, Nia, especially at night." "Then why did you marry me?" She was crying now, tears streaming down her face. "If I'm in so much danger, why bring me here?" For a moment she thought he might actually answer. His mouth opened, and she saw genuine anguish in his eyes. But then his expression hardened again, and he turned toward the door. "Because I needed someone unburdened by this world to anchor me," he said quietly. "I hoped you could remain untouched, but the curse is smarter than my hope." He left, and Nia collapsed onto the floor, her whole body shaking. The whispers continued all night, mixing with the phantom screams, mixing with her own sobs. She'd thought marrying him would save her life. Now she wondered if she'd actually just chosen a slower death. The days that followed were strange and suffocating. Nia barely saw Jae-Min. He left early each morning before she woke and returned late at night after she'd locked herself in her room. They were husband and wife, but they lived like strangers, like ghosts haunting the same house without ever truly meeting. But she felt him everywhere, in the way the guards watched her with knowing eyes, in the black incense that burned in every room, leaving behind a bitter smell that clung to her clothes, in the way her skin still tingled with that burning sensation even when he wasn't near. 2 weeks into the marriage, Nia started having the dreams. She was in Jae-Min's body, seeing through his eyes. She felt his hands pulling a trigger, felt the recoil of the gun, felt nothing as men died in front of her. But worse than the violence was the emptiness, the absolute void where emotions should have been. It was like drowning in ice water, like being buried alive in silence. She woke up screaming. The dreams came every night after that, each one more vivid than the last. She saw every person Jae-Min had ever killed, felt every bullet, every blade, every broken bone. And slowly, terrifyingly, she began to recognize some of the faces. They were the same faces she saw in the shadows of the mansion, the same voices that whispered through the walls. 1 month after the wedding, Nia woke up and couldn't get out of bed. Her body felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Nausea rolled through her in waves, and when she looked in the mirror, she barely recognized herself. Her skin had taken on a grayish pallor, and dark circles ringed her eyes. But it was her reflection's eyes that terrified her most. For just a second, they hadn't looked like her eyes at all. They'd looked like someone else's. Multiple someone else's, staring out from behind her face. She managed to crawl to the bathroom before vomiting. When she looked down, she screamed. The water in the toilet was tinged red, blood. The door crashed open. Jae-Min stood there, wild-eyed, still in his suit from whatever business he'd been conducting. "Nia!" "Something's wrong," she gasped. "Something's really wrong with me." He was beside her in an instant, scooping her up like she weighed nothing. His touch burned, but she was too weak to pull away. "I'm calling the doctor." "Hospital?" "No hospital." His voice was grim. "They can't help you. Not with this." The doctor arrived within an hour. He was old, with gray hair and hands that shook slightly as he examined Nia. Jae-Min stood in the corner of the room, watching with an expression that might have been fear on anyone else's face. The doctor took blood samples, checked her vitals, asked questions in a soft voice that Nia could barely process, through the haze of pain and exhaustion. Finally, he turned to Jae-Min. "I need to run tests. I'll be back tomorrow." "Tell me now," Jae-Min said, his voice deadly quiet. The doctor's Adam's apple bobbed. "I can't confirm without the tests, but the symptoms, they match what happened to your mother and your grandmother before her." The room went absolutely silent. Nia saw Jae-Min's hands curl into fists, saw his jaw clench so hard she heard his teeth grind. "Get out," Jae-Min whispered. The doctor fled. The moment the door closed, Jae-Min slammed his fist into the wall, cracking the plaster. No, this wasn't supposed to happen. Not to you." "What wasn't supposed to happen?" Nia forced herself to sit up despite the dizziness. "What's wrong with me?" Jae-Min turned to face her, and for the first time since she'd met him, she saw real emotion on his face. Terror, grief, and underneath it all, crushing guilt. "Your blood," he said hoarsely. "It's not your own anymore. It's mine. It's theirs. It's everyone I've ever killed." Nia stared at him, her mind refusing to process his words. "What are you talking about?" Jae-Min moved to the window, pressing his forehead against the glass. My family has been cursed for 5 generations. Every person we kill, their soul binds to our bloodline. They live inside us, screaming, demanding justice. It's why we're so good at what we do. We feel nothing when we kill, because we're already too full of death to feel anything else. That's insane. Curses aren't real. He laughed, a broken sound. You've been hearing them for a month. You've seen them in your dreams. You've felt them crawling under your skin. And you still think this isn't real? Nia's hands trembled as she touched her own face, remembering the wrong reflection in the mirror. How does this happen? How did I get cursed? The curse transfers to the person we love. Jae-Min's voice cracked on the last word. It's the universe's punishment, I suppose. We take lives, so the curse takes the one life we actually care about. My mother died from it when I was 10. My grandmother before her. Every Han woman for 5 generations. But I'm not a Han. No. He finally looked at her, and his eyes were wet. You're not. You were supposed to be safe. You were just a transaction, a business arrangement. I wasn't supposed to fall in love with you. The words hung in the air between them. Nia's heart stuttered. You don't love me. You barely know me. I know. Jae-Min wiped his eyes roughly. I know it's insane. I know it's impossible. But the moment I saw you in that warehouse, kneeling in front of me with fire in your eyes even though you were terrified, something in me recognized something in you. And every day since, every moment I've tried to stay away from you, it's only gotten worse. The curse knew before I did. So you married me to save your father, or you married me because of this curse? Both. Neither. I don't know anymore. He slid down the wall until he was sitting on the floor, looking more broken than she'd ever seen him. I thought if I kept my distance, if I never touched you, if I never admitted what I felt, maybe the curse wouldn't recognize you as mine. But curses are smarter than men. They find the cracks in our armor. Nia wanted to be angry. She wanted to rage at him for dragging her into this nightmare. But looking at him now, seeing the genuine anguish on his face, she felt something else. Something that terrified her more than the curse. Sympathy. And beneath it, the terrible, treacherous beginning of understanding. Maybe even affection. How long do I have? She asked quietly. The doctor will confirm tomorrow, but based on my mother's timeline, maybe 3 months. Maybe less. And there's no cure? There's one. Jae-Min's jaw tightened. A blood ritual during the full moon. The curse can be transferred back to the original bloodline through sacrifice. You mean you'd have to die? Yes. No. The word came out fiercer than Nia intended. No. I'm not letting you die for me. It's not your choice. This is my curse. My family's sin. You're innocent in all this. Am I? Nia forced herself to stand, though her legs shook. I'm starting to see their faces, Jae-Min. The people you killed. I know what you've done, and some of them deserved it. I saw the human trafficker. I saw the man who sold children. I saw the monster who killed his entire family. That doesn't make me righteous. I'm still a murderer. Maybe. But you're also the man who saved my father. Who gave money to every guard's family when they died. Who donated millions to orphanages under fake names. I've been watching you, even when you thought I wasn't. You're not just a monster. You're more complicated than that. Jae-Min stood, and suddenly he was in front of her, his hand cupping her face with a gentleness that contradicted everything she knew about him. The burning sensation was there, but somehow it felt less like pain now and more like electricity. You're too good for this world, he whispered. Too good for me. Then why do I feel like I've been waiting my whole life to meet you? The kiss happened before either of them could think better of it. His lips crashed against hers with desperate hunger, and the burning exploded into something that felt like dying and being reborn simultaneously. Nia saw flashes of his memories, his pain, his isolation, his terrible loneliness. And beneath it all, she felt his love for her, fierce and consuming and absolutely real. When they pulled apart, both were crying. Both were bleeding from their noses. And when Nia looked in the mirror across the room, she saw them clearly for the first time. Dozens of faces superimposed over her own, watching with hollow eyes. The dead, claiming their vessel. "They're here," she breathed. "I know. I can see them too, now that the curse is complete." Jae-Min pulled her close, and she let him, finding comfort in his arms despite everything. "I'm so sorry, Nia. I'm so sorry." The next 2 weeks passed in a haze of supernatural horror and impossible intimacy. The ghosts grew bolder, no longer content to whisper. They spoke to Nia directly, showing her their deaths, their pain, their families left behind. Some begged for justice. Others simply wanted to be remembered. Nia found Jae-Min in the Forbidden East Wing, surrounded by ancient texts and artifacts. The room was filled with candles, and in the center was a ritual circle drawn in what looked like dried blood. On a parchment, written in elegant Korean, she recognized her own details. Nia Park, mixed lineage, unclaimed soul, possible vessel to halt the cycle. "You've been trying to break the curse," she said, her voice shaking with the weight of the betrayal and the hope. He didn't look surprised that she'd found him. "Since before I met you. Since my mother died in my arms when I was a child, and I swore I'd never let this curse take another innocent life. I researched for 5 years, looking for the one person whose soul the curse might not recognize as a traditional target. You were my last, desperate hope." "The ritual. Tell me the truth about it." Jae-Min's hands stilled on the book he'd been reading. "It requires a life, but not in the way I told you. It requires both of us, the cursed and the curse-bearer. We have to die together during the blood moon, and our combined sacrifice breaks the cycle. Future Hans will be free. So we both die, or I die slowly while you watch. There's a third option I've been researching." He finally met her eyes. "If we perform the ritual together willingly, if we go into death as one, the curse doesn't just break, it reverses. Every soul trapped in the bloodline gets released. They find peace, and we what? According to this text, we become something else, not alive, not dead, guardians of the threshold between worlds, together for eternity, but not in any way we'd recognize as life." Nia sat down heavily. "That's not a choice. That's just a different kind of hell." "I know." His voice was barely a whisper. "That's why I've decided. Tomorrow night is the blood moon. I'm going to perform the sacrifice alone. You'll live. The curse will return to me, and I'll die with it. You'll be free." "Jae-Min, no. It's already decided, Nia." He stood, and she saw the determination in his eyes. "I've lived with death my whole life. Let me die for something good. Let me die for you." The next night, Nia woke to find Jae-Min gone. The blood moon hung heavy in the sky, casting everything in shades of crimson. She ran to the east wing, her heart pounding, and found him in the ritual circle, knife in hand, beginning the incantation. "Stop!" She threw herself forward, breaking the circle. Jaemin's eyes widened. "Nia, no! You'll contaminate the ritual." "Good." She grabbed the knife from his hand. "Because I'm not letting you do this alone. If we're cursed together. If we die together." "You don't understand what you're saying. You'll give up everything, your life, your future, any chance at happiness." "My happiness is with you." Nia took his hand, and this time the burning felt like coming home. "I've spent 1 month as your wife, and it's been the most terrifying, painful, impossible month of my life. But it's also been the first time I've ever felt truly alive. I choose this. I choose you. I choose us." Tears streamed down Jae-Min's face. "I love you." God help me. I love you so much. I love you too. Nia smiled, even as the ghosts swirled around them, even as the curse tightened like a noose. So let's end this together. They completed the ritual as the blood moon reached its peak. The knife cut both their palms, their blood mixing in the ancient bowl. The words poured from their mouths in languages neither knew they could speak, and as the final syllable echoed through the room, the curse broke. Every ghost screamed at once, a sound of agony and ecstasy, combined, and then they were gone, dissolving into light. The weight Nia had carried for a month lifted. The burning stopped. And she looked at Jae-Min, really looked at him, and saw him smile for the first time. A real smile, full of joy and freedom and peace. It worked, he breathed. They're free. He collapsed. So did she. Their bodies fell together in the center of the circle, hands still clasped, blood still mingling. And as Nia's vision faded, she saw herself in the mirror one last time. Her reflection looked peaceful, human, alone. 3 months later, Jae-Min stood at Nia's grave in Yangpyeong, where wildflowers grew among the stones. The syndicate was dissolved, his wealth distributed to the families of every person his ancestors had killed. He was just a man now, free of the curse, free of death, free of everything except grief. On the tombstone, someone had left a red feather. He picked it up, and for just a moment, he felt warmth against his palm. Heard a whisper that sounded like her voice. Love doesn't end, even when blood remembers. He looked up at the sky and finally let himself cry. She'd sacrificed herself to absorb the curse completely, freeing him. The ritual had worked, but only because she, the willing vessel, had chosen to bear the final burden. And in doing so, she'd taken all those souls with her into whatever came after death, giving them peace. She'd saved everyone, including him. I'll remember, Jae-Min whispered to the grave, to the wind, to wherever she was now. I'll remember for both of us. The red feather dissolved into light in his hand, and for a heartbeat, he felt her fingers squeeze his one last time. Then she was gone, truly gone, leaving him with nothing but memory and the bittersweet gift of a life without darkness. He walked away from the grave as the sun set behind the mountains, carrying her love like a light in his chest where the curse used to live. She'd given him everything, and he would spend the rest of his life making sure her sacrifice meant something. Was Nia Park's incredible journey of sacrifice and cursed love impressive? Did she make the right choice in the end? Tell us what you learned from Nia's story in the comments below. And if you don't want to miss another intense drama like this one, don't forget to subscribe.